Yo, what's up? I'm your host, Justin Kopet, on another podcast episode of Justin Kopet's Journey. Now, many of you have some fears, and that's good. I have some fears as well. And I am going to dive in today, such as some of you may take those certain tests online. Those types of tests that tell you, hey, here's my issue. Or if you were to go to the doctor and the doctor asks you, hey, what is wrong when it comes to moving this certain part of your body? And you tell them, and they then diagnose you with some sort of issue, illness, disease, because you took that doctor's test. Now, I have a test for you, and this test is going to help you dissect, and if you have any of these issues inside, and I describe something that comes up to you about some of these fears that we diagnose together here today on this episode, I would greatly appreciate you reaching out. Now, my IG is I am Justin Kopet. I am Justin Kopet on X. Everything you need is linked down below in the comment and or the description of this podcast episode, whether you be listening to it on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts is mainly where I'm launching these things. Now, let's get right into this diagnosis. So, one of the very first test or signs and or symptoms for this diagnosis would be abandonment. Have you ever felt abandoned or very scared of being abandoned? Whether it be a baby that gets abandoned by its parents at a very young age, or where it comes to a group of friends that no longer want to hang out with that individual, and maybe that's you that is scared of not hanging around those friends anymore because they are going to abandon you. And or with this one, abandonment may also turn into social ridicule, where there's a group of individuals that speak out against you, that say maybe not positive things about you, and that may be something that prevents you from starting that business, building that podcast, growing that show, connecting with new individuals, asking that person out that you're preferring to ask out. And I keep looking down because my notes are down here. And maybe another one of these symptoms or diagnoses would be being ignored. Whether that person stops responding to you, never responds to you. See, I sent a message out earlier this week to a certain individual, and I still have not heard from them. And it's been 2.5 days. Now, they may be ignoring me. They may not be ignoring me. They might just be busy. Who knows? That is just one sign of a fear, which would be, in alignment with social ridicule and abandonment. And the last one in this category would be feeling small. Have you ever felt small? Maybe you look at an ant. We have all sorts of ants running around in the bathrooms of my house where I brush my teeth. And these little fellas are very small, yet there's so many of them. And if you were to think of these little guys, these little ants looking at you from the perspective of the ant, they may look like giants. Now, there may be a giant out there that you feel very small to, and you need some help to push through it. So if any of these first few handful of things may align with you in terms of the fears, feel free to reach out. And let's truly diagnose even more where this fear is coming from. So another one may be dismissal. Just kind of, they look at you and they just kind of dismiss your presence, not really approve of your presence. They just kind of push it away, which then leads into, maybe disapproval, where no matter what you do, they disapprove of you. And it very much so scares you and prevents you from moving forward into that next section that you prefer to build out, whether it be serving someone, whether it be growing something, whether it be a podcast that you plan to start, who knows? So the next one that I come to is feeling left out. Have you ever felt left out of something where all your friends are going out together and maybe they just forgot to text you and you're just stuck at home, hanging out, doing nothing? You would have joined them, yet they just forgot about you. And now you're feeling very much so left out. And there was once a time where I felt very left out. I was in a place where I asked some individuals to go golfing. And it's funny because, golfing, it's great. I need to improve my game. So if you want to golf sometime, please let me know. And in this story, it was very funny because I asked one individual to go golfing and they said no. Some people are in town that I'm hanging out. And I said, okay, no issues, whatever. It's all good. And then the next day, if you follow me on Snapchat, please do, or add me on Snapchat. We'd love to connect with you. There I see the same individual that I asked to go out and golf with at Top Golf. So, it's not necessarily the same as golfing 9 holes or 18 holes, yet Top Golf is very similar to, I guess you could say, regular golf because it allows you to focus and create more on your swing. So back to it. Let's keep going. Another one would be social criticism. Have you ever experienced social criticism maybe online where people are commenting on your stuff, not very positive things, and maybe that's what prevents you from posting all the time with social criticism, or a whole group, again, going back to some of the earlier stuff, social ridicule, very, very much so similar, which then gets into another very interesting topic, such as gossip. You do not like people gossiping about you. Well, who does? Not really sure. And maybe you and maybe I, yet in this procedure that we're going to dive into, it's very interesting to understand, if I were to be gossiping about you, or you to be gossiping about would I, if you and I were to flip the roles, be okay with hearing what you are saying when it comes to this gossip? Now, the next one would be maybe in alignment with peer mismatch. And peer mismatch may be things where you can only imagine where you don't quite match, you don't quite fit in, you don't quite accept, maybe that situation because you seem to be an outcast from the group, from the situation, from the place. Now, at any moment you feel if any of these are you and are triggering you, now just reach out. Let's dive deeper into them so you can become more aware of them. Just because if you are not bringing these things into awareness, it's only going to continue. And I know I have been in the past speaking in the past very much so about the same exact things. And now I feel as if it's time to bring out into the future and in the present moment, here with you now, more so of these procedures that one can do, that I can help you with in terms of the procedure to understand, so then that way you can diagnose yourself with some of these things. And you may have none of them, you may have all of them, it's okay. Either way, it's good to jump into. So another one would be being seen as dumb. Now, who in today's age prefers to be seen as dumb? Probably not many of you. Now, many of you see that as one of your number one fears. That's why you go out there and you study different things and you appear to be very intelligent, which you may or may not be. No judgment. I'm just saying, if you are to be scared of being dumb, is that all right? And when it comes to the knowledge that you have, if people are to question you about it, does that bring up a fear in your mind? Questioning you about what you study, because maybe you don't actually know what you're studying and you have no idea with what's going on. I was talking to someone about certain individuals in terms of policies that are going on, and this is their field of study. Now, with this being their field of study, they should very much so know, when in reality, they had no idea. And these are your future, what would you say, representatives of America. They do not know the things that are in place, which they are currently studying, because they are just getting by. Yet, if they were to be questioned, some of these fears may be triggered in their mind. Now, another one would be going right into it, especially if we took that same individual. If you were to call them out on not knowing what they're studying, does that bring up a fear in their mind? Does that prevent you from going out there and taking action on, the things that you prefer to be taking action on? Now, being disregarded or ignored. Have you ever been disregarded or ignored? Some of you have. Some of you see that as a major fear and would rather not continuously go out there and take action towards whatever it is that you're taking action towards, because you feel as if you're misunderstood. And maybe you were disbelieved. Some of these things are very interesting, because if you were to recall in your mind, have you ever been misunderstood? Many have. Many are going to be in the future. Many have been in the past. Many are in this current moment, if you think of all of the world's communication that is going on right now. Either way, it's a good question. Now, some of you may very much so be and have a fear of being pranked, where someone, say, takes a big bucket of water, and if you were to imagine this, place it on your front doorstep. So when you open the door, all this water dumps all over you and your shoes and your house because someone pranked you. Now, would that upset you? Is that kind of one of your fears when it comes to a group environment? Are they going to pick on you? Are they going to play jokes on you? Are they going to disrespect you and maybe say more names about you? And if they were to disrespect you, you may be very upset and you may have a lot of fears around it. These are all good questions. Now, the last one that I'm looking at down here for the notes that I have would be unknowledged or challenged. So, if anyone challenges you, do you get upset? Do you have a fight or flight trigger that goes off in your mind? Again, I am not exactly sure. That's why I'm asking you. So if you find any of these to be helpful and have you trigger some certain memories in terms of the things that I've brought up for you today, please let me know. I would love to hear about it. Now, this one will be very short just because, again, we just kind of dove into some of the common fears that you might have. And if you need more clarification on it, just let me know. And if you find yourself experiencing some sort of memory in your mind when it comes to these topics of fears, just let me know. Would love to help you out. Now, many of you have been binging. Some of you are just beginning here on this very first episode. If you can subscribe, like, share it. Like I said, I know when people love me is when they're sharing things with me. And with you, maybe they do the same exact thing. So with that being said, I do not have a lot more to go into, and I'm looking forward to building off of this and kind of rerouting it outside of the mind, more so into some biohacking things, protocols that I do and take advantage of for my health, for my skincare, for the body itself, which can maybe benefit you as I go into these certain things in the near future. And then from there, we can always loop back around. There's a lot of open-ended things that I have not gone into, which is good, which is what I was doing this weekend, was to study thyself, was to really know and understand thyself, so that way I can bring and provide more value. So what I mean by that is I went back over the weekend, pretty much starting from episode 1 all the way up until last week's episode is what I was listening to. Why? To understand what I was speaking about, understand the trends that I am speaking about, and really dial in the repetitions. So if you were to start from episode 1 and go all the way through it until now, you might find that I speak about consciousness, limiting beliefs, and other things that maybe I am not recalling right now in my mind that you can recall in your mind that maybe you want to share with me in terms of patterns that you understand. Just because the more I can use repetition, the more it can become clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer in your mind, which can help you, again, then diagnose some of these basic fears that you may have inside of yourself. And that is essentially why I bring them up. Just because if I can help you, I know I have done my job and or purpose. Just because when it comes to diagnosing, some doctors are really good with diagnostics. Now, many of you have noticed in your mind, in your opinion, that some of these things were not there, which is cool. That's wonderful. Just keep that going, keep that rocking, and maybe I did not go down deep and or specific enough. And if you found one that you really enjoy, please let me know so we can dive deeper into it, okay? For those of you on YouTube, we are just launching it. I'm creating my own thumbnails, creating new different things for it. So any feedback of yours helps. And with that, we're just going to wrap it up there. Keep it simple, keep it short, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.